Hey, this is Barry here, and you are very, very welcome to today's episode of the Passion to Profits podcast. Now, in today's podcast episode, I want to talk about something that might hold you back from being successful on building a business around your passion, and that is how you see yourself. I don't mean on the outside, I mean on the inside. How do you see yourself in here? Now, what I mean by that is if I was to call you a writer, if I was to call you a blogger, a podcaster, a YouTuber, would you feel comfortable with that title? Would you feel, yes, I am a blogger. Yes, I am a writer. Yes, I am a podcaster. Or do you have a kind of squeamish feeling? Does it make you feel a little bit icky? Does it make you feel uncomfortable if someone was to call you that? Now, I know what that's like because when I go back to my early fiction writing days, it took me a long time to take on the title of writing. Because I didn't see myself as a writer, even though I was writing, even though my books were in the Kindle store, in the fiction section, I didn't see myself as a fiction writer. For some reason, it just didn't click with me. It didn't feel comfortable with me. It didn't feel that title, I deserved it. That I couldn't look at myself as a writer because I wasn't one of these great writers. I was just a writer. And I couldn't accept that. And I want you to think about that right now for a moment. Could you see yourself as a podcaster, blogger, writer? Could you accept that title? Now, what I want to do in this podcast episode, like I do in most of my other ones, I want to give you some mental tweaks. I want you to rewire what's going on in here so that when it comes to someone calling you a writer or a podcaster or a blogger, it feels comfortable. It feels right, that you do deserve the title that people give you. So what I'd say to you is, well, when it comes to titles go with actions. If you were to call someone a writer, you can be guaranteed that they probably write. If you call someone a podcaster, it's because they podcast. If you call someone a blogger, it's because they blog. So the title actually goes with the actions. Now, if you're actually taking the actions of a writer, do you not think that you should be able to call yourself a writer because you're writing? Do you not think you should be able to call yourself a blogger because you're blogging? But again, too many of us fear this title as if it's a big thing that we don't deserve having. But really, if you're taking the actions that person would take, well then you'd call yourself a writer if you write. You'd call yourself a podcaster if you podcast. I've got no problems calling myself a podcaster, and that is because I podcast. I record podcast episodes. Like, what else am I going to call myself? Go offline. Do you ever think a plumber doesn't consider himself a plumber because he feels he isn't worthy of the title? Now, if his day-to-day job is plumbing, well then of course he's a plumber. If he was an electrician, he would be doing electrical work. If he was a carpenter, he would be working with wood. So think about that when it comes to accepting a title. If it does feel maybe a little bit squeamish, think to yourself, well, if I'm taking the actions that person takes, well then I deserve that title. Now, what I'd say to you as well too is that when it comes to not accepting titles, it's usually just simply self-doubt. We just don't feel deserving of it. We feel that everybody else can call themselves a writer or a blogger or a podcaster, but not little old us. And I think the reason we've got problems accepting that title is because we feel that if you want to call yourself a writer, it means you need to be the best writer out there. If you want to call yourself a podcaster, well, you need to be the best podcaster on the internet. But that's not true, because you're going to find that there are writers at different levels. You're going to find podcasters at different levels. You're going to find bloggers at different levels. So does that mean we can't call ourselves a writer or a podcaster or a blogger unless we're at the top of the game? Again, go back to the offline companies. Do you ever think that a carpenter says to himself, well, I can't call myself a carpenter because I'm not the best carpenter in the country? No, he just takes the title that he's a carpenter. Now, you can be guaranteed that whatever carpenter you probably know, that there probably is a carpenter that could be better than them. But each of those people deserve to have the title of being a carpenter, regardless of what level they were at. Again, as I said, it took me a while to recognise that just because I wasn't the greatest writer in the world, still didn't mean I couldn't take on the title of being a writer. And the same with you as well too. Even though you may be on your journey, maybe your first day writing, it doesn't mean that you can't call yourself a writer. You're a beginner writer, but you're a writer at this level. So you're entitled to have that title just as much as the people who've been writing for years. So don't forget that. Now, when it comes to, accepting titles, again, I think impostor syndrome is a big one for us. We have problems accepting titles because we feel, well, I don't deserve to be here. Those other people can call themselves writer. Those other people out there can call themselves podcasters. But I can't call myself a podcaster or a writer because I shouldn't be here. Somebody's going to find me out. Somebody's going to turn around and point the finger at me one day and say, you know something? How dare you call yourself a writer because you're not a writer? How dare you call yourself a podcaster because you're not a podcaster? Now, here's the thing. We have this belief that that's going to happen at some point. But you're never going to have a point in the future where someone is going to point out to you that you don't deserve to be where you are. You might get the odd negative comment, might get the odd criticism or something like that. But no one's going to stop you and take your tools off you and not allow you to write anymore, or to record podcast episodes, or to blog, or to make videos. No one's going to take those tools off you. The only person who's going to stop you is you. So even though you might feel that you're not deserving of being in this playground with all those other writers and all those other podcasters and all those bloggers, you deserve to be there as much as anyone else. Just because those people do that doesn't mean that you can't show up today, play in the same sandbox, and create what you want to do. You can create whatever podcast episode you want to do as a podcaster. You can write these particular books that you like to write because you're a writer. So you deserve to be in this creative sandbox with the rest of us. So don't think that you're going to be some point in the future where someone's going to point out to you that you shouldn't be here. It's never going to happen. It's all in your head. So you should keep doing it. As well too, I think when we are afraid of taking on titles, we feel that, well, the only way I'm going to take on a title is if someone recognizes me for this title. That someone one day is going to point to me and say, you know something, kid, you're a writer, or you're a podcaster, or you're a YouTuber. And it's only when I get that moment of recognition that I can go, yes, I've been noticed. So I am a writer, or I am a podcaster from today onwards, because that random person over there on the internet says, I deserve to be here. Or because maybe I've got a piece of paper that says, well, all of a sudden now, because I've got this piece of paper in my hand, it means that I am a writer from today onwards, or I'm a blogger from today onwards. But really, you don't need to get any recognition from anyone. The only recognition you need today is you, in here. You need to recognize yourself as a writer, as someone who records videos for YouTube or TikTok, or as a podcaster, or whatever it is you're having problems with. You need to recognize you. And the quicker you recognize you as that particular title and as that particular occupation, the better for you. Because no one needs to give you that title. We know we don't need to wait around for random people on the internet to give us permission to be what we want to be. We need to give ourselves permission to be what we want to be. And you can be guaranteed that if you are going to wait around, hoping that someone is going to recognize you at some point, you're going to be waiting a long time. You'll probably be at the grave before someone points out to you that you're a writer or a podcaster or a YouTuber or whatever. So why wait around for those people to recognize you? And when you think about it, even the people that you think are more qualified than you, maybe with a piece of paper, you could find that those people maybe who had gone through school to study English, to become a writer, come out with a piece of paper, but mightn't have written a book yet. And here could be you coming along, just writing your little books, getting years of experience of writing under yourself, and that you could find that you're probably in a lot better position than someone who's just stepped out of college, stepped out of university with a piece of paper. So again, going on that, who is more qualified? The person with the piece of paper who has never written a book before, or you that has been writing books for the last couple of years? Of course it's going to be you. So stop thinking that a piece of paper or that recognition from a certain person, a certain group, having letters after your name means that you are now entitled to do it. It doesn't. Again, going back to here, you have to accept the title yourself and work from there. And what I'd say to you as well too is, if you are having problems with accepting titles or feeling that you're a writer or a blogger or a podcaster, maybe just push that aside for a little moment and just focus on your progress, getting better at your craft. And you will find over time, as you continue writing, of course, you're going to get better at it, and you are going to probably feel more comfortable of calling yourself a writer because you've got more experience under your belt. You know how to write books, or again, even podcasting. The more podcast episodes you record, the more comfortable you're going to get at it, the more experience you're going to get at it, and then eventually we'll probably reach a point that you'll feel comfortable being a podcaster. So even though you might feel a little bit squeamish right now, keep continuing on, because as you make progress, as you get better at it, you will find that that title that you are afraid to take on is going to feel more natural, because you're already taking that actions that person takes. You're getting better at it. So why the hell wouldn't you take on the title of being a writer or a podcaster or a YouTuber or whatever the title is that you're looking to accept? So what you need to do is, if you do find problems, accepting a title or feeling comfortable doing something that you think you shouldn't be doing, just remember, it's going to be a learning curve. You're going to learn over time. In the beginning, you're going to be crap. Now, the first day I could have called myself a writer, but I would have called myself a crap writer because I wasn't too good. But over time, as I wrote more and more and more, I got better and I got better and I got better. And it's going to be the same for you as well too. That even though you're coming down at the bottom level of this supposed group, it doesn't mean you don't need to be there. But the more you focus on getting better and improving, you can work your way up through the stages. And what I'd say to you as well too is that congratulate yourself on taking action, on doing something that most people won't do. Most people will never write. Most people will never podcast. Most people will never make videos. So the fact that even though you could be crap, terrible at it, but are willing to take action, are willing to get outside your comfort zone, is something that you should celebrate. You should pat yourself on the back for doing something that the majority of people won't do. And if you still find it a bit hard to accept a title, if it still makes you feel squeamish to call yourself a writer or a podcast or whatever, maybe just narrow down your title and say to yourself, you know something? I'm the best TikToker in this house. I'm the best writer on this street. I am the greatest podcaster in my town. And over time, as I said, confidence will grow, but you deserve to be here just like the rest of us. We don't have the monopoly on podcasts. We don't have the monopoly on videos. We don't have the monopoly on writing blogs or writing books or all those things. That little sandbox, that creative sandbox, is there for all of us. So don't be afraid of showing up today with your little bucket and spade, sitting down, digging and making your own sandcastles. You're entitled to write like the rest of us. You're entitled to make videos like the rest of us. You're entitled to record podcast episodes like the rest of us. So I hope this podcast episode has helped you, see this kind of title thing in your head. Hopefully it'll make you not as squeamish when you think of yourself as a writer or a blogger or a podcaster, because really it's a lot of mental nonsense. Just get in here, take action, realize that yes, you will be crap. Yes, you could be maybe one of these lower rung writers or podcasters, but that doesn't mean that you can't work your way up through the group. And really, you deserve to be here just like anyone else. So I hope you enjoyed this podcast episode. If you did enjoy it, and if you would like to know how to maybe make money from the skills that you have, I do have a great free report. You'll find it in the show notes. If you click on the link, I'm going to show you 10 proven ways that you can make money with your skills. And if you have any comments, if you like the podcast episode, please feel free to share it with other people, or if you know someone who could benefit from this episode, again, please feel free to use it. If you have any comments or anything at all, please leave them below the podcast episode. I'd love to know how you think of it. And as always, have a lovely day. Take care. Bye-bye.